You compare sets when the number of objects in one set is greater than the number of objects in the other set.
Hi there! Look what I found! Someone has been storing some acorns. How many acorns do you see? 1, 2, 3. Yep, that's right. There are 3 acorns here. Hey, Rafferty, how many acorns are in that row? Click the row of acorns to help her count them. Okay, there are 4 acorns there. Which number of acorns is greater? We need to learn about comparing sets with different numbers. Come on, let's see what we can.
Meg uses yellow counters to show the number of books she has, while Oliver uses red counters to show his books. Let's see which set has a number of books that is greater than the other set by comparing them. Start by matching. Click the sets to draw lines to match Meg's counters to Oliver's counters. Not every counter has a match, but let's compare the sets some more by counting. Click them again to count how many counters are in each set. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There are 5 yellow counters in Meg's set. Now count Oliver's set. 1, 2, 3, 4. There are 4 red counters in Oliver's set. 5 is greater than 4. That means Meg's set of yellow counters has a number greater than Oliver's set of red counters. Here are 2 sets of counters. Let's find out how many are in each set. Click the red set to start counting them.
So between the 2 sets, they have the red set of counters up top, and then they have the yellow set of counters on the bottom. So first we're going to touch the counters that are red on top to see how many we have.
1, 2, 3. How many red counters are there?
So we counted 3. The 2 choices that they give us are the number 2 and the number 3. So because we counted 3 red counters, we're going to click on the number 3.
Good job! The number of red counters is 3. Now count the yellow set. 1, 2. There are 2 yellow counters. Select the number of yellow counters.
So we counted 2 yellow, and the choices of numbers that they give us are 1 and 2. So being that we counted 2 yellow counters, we're going to touch the number 2.
Good job! The number of yellow counters is 2. Now compare the sets by matching the counters.
So when we match counters, we're going to draw one line from a red counter to a yellow counter. So we just make a straight line right down.
Not all the counters have a match. So which set has a number of counters that is greater? Select the number that is greater.
So we weren't able to draw a line on all of the counters because if you notice, there's one red counter that's all alone. The reason why it's left all alone is because on the bottom of the 5 frame, there are no more yellow counters. So we're looking for the greater number, which means we're looking for the bigger number. So you always want to look for the group that has more, okay? So we have 3 red, 2 yellow. So 3 is the bigger number. It's the greater number. So we're going to click on the number 3.
Good job! 3 is greater than 2.
Okay, so now we're going to look at our books. We are on page 87. Now, at this time, Ms. Castro is going to stand up at the smartboard, so I'm not paying attention to anyone's video. You're just going to simply follow along with me, and we're going to work on these pages together. So, today we're learning how to compare sets of objects to see which one is greater. So the one that's greater is the one that has more, okay? So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to count and label the yellow counters that are in the top 5 frame. So let's do that first. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm stopping at the number 5 because 5 is the last number that I counted for the yellow counters. I'll give everyone a few moments to count and label their yellow counters as well. So now that everyone has their math books, you're going to follow along with Ms. Castro and do the work with me so that way you're ready for your Google Classroom assignment later today. Next, we have to count and label the red circles that are down below at the bottom in that 5 frame. So let's do that. 1, 2, 3, 4. I stopped at the number 4 because 4 is the last number that I counted with the red counters. So I'll give everyone a few moments to count and label their red counters as well. Now, the next thing that we have to do is we have to see if we match one yellow counter to one red counter. And the way we do that is by drawing a line from one yellow to one red. And we keep connecting them until we cannot connect anymore. So here's 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, I was not able to draw a line for the yellow counter that has the number 5 because I ran out of red counters. There aren't any more counters down below in the 5 frame. So I'm not going to touch that yellow counter that has the number 5. He's not connected to anybody. So now we're going to look at both numbers. We have 5 yellow and 4 red. So looking at the two groups, the one on the top and the one on the bottom, we always want to pick for today the greater number. So the greater number is always going to be the bigger number. Now that I'm sitting down at my chair, who would like to share with us which is the greater number? Is 5 the greater number or is 4 the greater number? Go ahead, Jace. Which one's greater, 5 or 4?
5.
Correct. Excellent job, Jace. 5 is the greater number, and you can tell it's the greater number because it's left out. He couldn't connect to anybody. Good job. So let's go on to the next page. Now, we are going to work on number 1 with the apple that's red. So let's focus on that top part of the page because we're going to do that part first, okay? First, let's count and label to see how many red we have. So, I'm standing up at the smartboard and I'm labeling 1. I have 1 red counter. I couldn't label any more red because I don't have any more red to label. So now I'm going to count and label the yellow. 1, 2. I stopped at 2 because 2 was what I counted for the yellow counters. Now I'm going to compare the red by matching. So I'm going to make a line. I'm going to connect a red to a yellow by drawing a line. I couldn't connect the number 2 for the yellow to any red because there are no more red for me to connect. So I counted 1 red, so I'm going to trace the number 1 on the line. And I counted 2 yellow, so I'm going to trace the number 2 on the line. Now I'm going to compare the numbers. I'm going to look to see which one is greater. Which is the bigger number? Is 1 the bigger number or is 2 the bigger number? Who would like to raise their hand and share with the class which is the greater number? That's the bigger number. Kimora, I see you raising your hand. Go ahead, Kimora. Which one's greater, 1 or 2?
2.
Very good job, Kimora. Excellent job, sweetie. Kimora's on the road today, but she's still learning with us and she's focused. I'm very proud of you, Kimora. Good job. So for the number 2, the one that we traced on the line, we're going to circle that number to show that's the greater number. So you boys and girls are also going to circle the number 2 that's written on the line. Because that is the greater number. Next problem, the sun with the number 2 in it, down at the bottom below. We're going to do the same thing. We're going to count and label the red circles first. We're going to see how many we have. We'll write the number on the line. And then we're going to count and label the yellow circles. And then we'll see how many we have and write that number on the line. So I'm going to stand at the smartboard. I'm going to count and label the red first. So I have 1, 2, 3. I'm stopping at 3 because 3 is what I counted for the red counters. So if I stopped at 3, 3 is going to be the number that I counted, and I'm going to write that number on the line. Next, I'm going to count and label the yellow counters. Then I'm going to see how many yellow I have. So let's count and label. 1, 2. I stopped at 2 because I only have 2 yellow counters. So on the line, Miss Castro is going to write the number 2. Next, we're going to compare the sets by matching. So we're going to make lines from 1 red to 1 yellow. And we're going to keep going until we cannot make any more matches. So 1 to 1, 2 to 2. Now I couldn't match the red number 3 because I don't have any more yellow to match it with. So now I'm going to compare the numbers. I have 3 and I have 2. We're looking for the greater number. That's the bigger number. Who would like to share with the class which is the greater number? Which one's the bigger number? Riley, go ahead. Which one's the bigger number?
D.
3 is correct. Good job. Excellent. So what we're going to do is the number 3 that we wrote on the line, we're going to circle it to show it's the greater number. And you can tell it's the greater number because if you look at the 5 frames, we couldn't match the 3 to anything. It's left alone, so that means it's the bigger number. So now, we're going to go to the next page. And on the next page, this time, they don't give us 5 frames. This time, they just give us sets of red and yellow counters. So we're just going to count and label it. And then we're going to have to see which one's the greater number. Let's look at the top problem with the green leaf that has the number 3. We're going to count and label the red ones first, okay? So let's count and label. 1, 2, 3. I counted and labeled 3 red counters. So on the line, I must write the number 3. Now I'm going to look at my set of yellow counters. I'm going to count and label those yellow counters, and then I'm going to write the number on the line. 1, 2, 3, 4. I stopped at 4, so the number that I write on the line is the number 4. Now I'm going to look at both numbers. I have 3 red, 4 yellow. Which is the greater number? Which is the bigger number? Who can help us out with that? Let's see. I think, Jaden, are you raising your hand? Do you want to share with us, Jaden, which one's the greater number? Okay. All right. I'm not too sure if Jaden wanted to share. It's okay, Jaden. Let's see. Elijah, do you want to share with us which is the greater number? 3 or 4?
No. Go ahead.
4.
Excellent job, Elijah. 4 is the greater number. And look, if you look with your eyes, you're using your sense of seeing. You can see with your eyes that 4 is the greater number because it has more counters. So we're going to circle the number 4 that we wrote on the line. Last problem. We're going to count and label the red counters, then the yellow counters, and we're going to see which one is the greater number. So first the red. 1, 2. 2 is what I counted, so 2 is the number I write on the line. Now the yellow. 1. I counted 1 yellow, so I'm going to write the number 1 on the line. Who would like to share with the class? Which one's the greater number? Is 2 greater or is 1?
2.
2.
I don't know who that was. I didn't call on anyone yet. Scarlett, I saw you raising your hand, Scarlett. Can you unmute yourself and tell us which one's the greater number?
2.
2, very good. Thank you, Scarlett. So we're going to circle the number 2. So today, we're focusing on the greater number, okay? So the greater number is always the bigger number, all right? You want to look for the group that has more. And the one that has more is the number that you're going to circle. So today's math vocabulary word, remember the words greater. When something is greater, it has more than something else, okay? All right, I'll give everyone a few seconds to finish up their work. I'll stop here. I'm ending class a little early because today is, I have to finish meeting with everyone's mommies and daddies. Good, I like, hold on a second, Alina. Don't move. Alina is showing us the words greater than. Thank you, Alina. Greater than is when something is more, it's bigger than another group. Thank you, Alina, for showing us that. Good job, Mama.